Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Ready, Set, Engage, build your best talent pool. That title is not updated. My name is Claire Alloway, and I am a part of the marketing team here at Jobvite. And before we get started, I just want to go over a couple of administrative details. First off, you'll notice all your lines are muted to avoid background noise, but we would love to have your questions about building your talent pools for Andre to answer. So if you can use that question box in the GoToWebinar widget, we will have Q&A at the end of the presentation. And just a little overview of what Jobvite is, in case you're not familiar. Jobvite is the modern recruiting platform, so we like to say. So you can see all of our products right here. Jobvite brand will help you with your employment branding, building a really strong career site that features your company to the best of its abilities in a desktop and mobile friendly career site. Jobvite Refer and Jobvite Engage are your sourcing tools. Jobvite Refer helps you build those great employer referrals, and Engage is your sourcing and CRM platform that we'll get into a little bit today. Jobvite Video is an on-demand video interviewing tool, and Jobvite Hire is our applicant tracking system. Along that, you can see at the bottom we have mobile abilities, analytics, and reporting that just got revamped. They're really strong. Everything is on the cloud, and we have an incredible integration system that integrates to just about every other recruiting or HR system you can think of with an open API. And along with that, here's just a sample of some of our customers, and as you can see, they range from small to enterprise level companies across a lot of different industries and around the world. So with that, I just want to introduce our presenter today. Andre is currently the Strategic Account Director here at Jobvite. He's also the former manager of global sourcing at the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, or ExactTarget. Before its acquisition, he headed up a 45-person recruiting team and drove $3 million in ROI using Jobvite Engage. His 7 years of full lifecycle recruiting experience with a global agency. And with that, I am going to pass it on over to Andre.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Claire. I really appreciate that. We want to make today very interactive, so feel free to, if you hear something that you like or have a question, feel free to share it across the hashtag JVChat. But again, appreciate everyone taking the time out of their very busy days today to have this conversation. So again, as you guys have probably heard this quite a bit, you've probably heard the term just-in-time economy. Again, it's more and more important to have valid talent pools. Again, you are in a very different world than we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We've really seen that we've got a healthy economy, and again, while employment is up, the way we do business has changed. People are no longer staying at companies for 20 years. You know, the generation of our parents that would work for a company for 30 years and retire happily, you know, that really went out of the way after the last recession. So we have an entire generation coming into the workforce, especially with millennials, that have seen their parents lose their jobs at their lifelong company. So, you know, there's definitely a situation where you're more renting talent versus hiring people to stay right now. So it's very important that you've got talent pipelines ready to go. You definitely can see from this chart that the job openings are very closely correlated to the level of employment, which isn't going to be much of a surprise. But what you will notice is that the job openings are very erratic. And so, you know, you need to make sure that you've got people ready to go when the market changes and you're in a situation where, you know, again, if you've got to lay off people from your team, it's great to keep those talent pipelines warm with communication, and conversely, have a group ready to go in case you lose a large number of employees that leave the company, or you're all of a sudden tasked with ramping up again and having to hire a large amount to make up for, you know, the previous few quarters. So again, it's very important to have qualified talent pools to do this. So what does that mean for us as talent acquisition leaders? Again, we can't take anything for granted as employers, job seekers, or recruiters. So again, I'm sure anyone that's in the recruiting industry, you guys have seen the funnel, you know what it's like. Again, you know, your job is to bring the top talent to you. Again, you want to get your message out. You know, whether you're a well-recognized brand like Coca-Cola or you're a company that's doing very well in your industry, but you want to bring people in from other areas, you want to make sure you're following all the cycles of employment, brand, sourcing, candidate experience, candidate selection, and insight. And for many of you, and we've seen a lot of people that are returning to this webinar have followed the entire series we've run. They've seen this slide. They're very familiar with these statistics. But again, talent is the lifeblood of your business. I saw a study last month that showed highly qualified talent being the number one indicator of a strong functioning team and the biggest ROI for the company. And again, there's Mark Anderson, who's a technology entrepreneur, and he actually founded the firm Anderson Howitz. He went on record recently saying, again, our companies are dying for talent. They're like lying on the beach gasping because they can't get enough talented people in for these jobs. The motivation to find talent wherever is unbelievably high. And just to speak to that from a personal instance, when I left the Salesforce Marketing Cloud to join Jobvite, again, Salesforce is an amazing leader in what they do. And again, they were building their talent pipelines, and we did that quite a bit. So all of our recruiting team had our top 25, our top 50 list of our top talent. That if we had a rec approved in a certain category, we would pull the trigger on that person. It's very important to remember to think for what's ahead. I was lucky to be part of an organization that had a plan for 2020. Now I know to think hiring 5 years from now is probably seems very insane, but you should have a plan for what's out for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, if nothing else, a short-term plan to, as a leader, to know what would happen if a certain business unit lost a key amount of people. Who would you have ready to go? And today in this webinar, we're going to show ways to handle that, whether you're a small company, large company, whether you're very vested into your sourcing talent pipelines or you're just getting started. We'll show different tips that are going to help you out. So again, before we can start, it's very key to understand your talent pool. So this is an important statistic. When you think about 71% of passive candidates are willing to at least, not leave their company, but listen and engage with a conversation, that's a staggering number for today's economy and today's workforce. When you think about it, to put it in perspective, what would happen if you're a manager of a team of 10, what would happen if 7 of your employees left at the same time? Would you be ready to handle that, or would it totally cripple your business? So again, each person on this call joined their company for a reason. More than likely this wasn't the first job you've had in your career. So there was a reason you left a job to come to where you are. Again, maybe you came because they're big into philanthropy. Maybe you came because it's a fast-growing company. Maybe you joined because they really invest or they've got a great work-life balance. Whatever the reason is, it's important to share those key reasons with other passive candidates and really, bring them to your company and really share across social media, why where you work is a great place to work. Again, if you're not engaging with passive candidates, you're not controlling the conversation. So you're going to miss out on a lot of talented people that might want to jump ship, but really they've just never heard of your company or open positions. So again, you owe it to the best talent out there to really get your messaging out there. And again, we've seen with having qualified talent pools, they're going to lower your cost per hire. On top of that, conversely, they're going to speed up your time to hire. They're going to provide a huge boost of applicants. They're going to safeguard against unexpected job wrecks. Everyone's in recruiting has been in that situation where the hiring manager said, hey, I had one rec you were working on that was extremely important. Well, guess what? I just got approval. We're going to hire 5 of these. And you're scratching your head saying, well, I was struggling to find people for one rec. Now I've got to figure out how to find 5 more. Okay, this is, where are my talent pools? How is this going to work for me? Again, for the last 5 years, anyone I've worked with in leadership has come to me and said, the biggest question I've seen in talent acquisition is, where is the talent hiding? And for years it said, okay, they're on CareerBuilder. Okay, they're not on CareerBuilder, they're on Monster. Okay, they're not on Monster, they're on LinkedIn. Okay, they're taking themselves off of LinkedIn, they're on GitHub or Quoraflow. Again, you owe it to yourself to really change the landscape. And the really best companies that I've seen that are the leaders in the industry, they're now changing the narrative. They're still looking for candidates, but they're not spending all of their time trying to hunt for candidates. They're now attracting candidates to their companies and building talent pipelines. So imagine if even a quarter of your talent pipeline, again, was coming to you proactively saying, hey, I'd love to learn more about your company. I've got a background in technology sales. I'd love to find out more. And we're going to share more about that later on today. So again, guys, talent pools, they can be scary. This is obviously a great image of a kid that wants to go swimming. He's prepared to go swimming. He's got his life thing, his blow-up life vessel around him. But again, he needs to understand there's no water. What am I going to do? You need to really understand how full is your talent pool. As a director of talent acquisition or a vice president of talent acquisition, Are you very good with, do you always hire for key roles such as sales? Do you have a good talent pool of sales? But if you were, again, to lose 70% of your engineering team or 70% of your marketing team, would that cripple your organization, or do you have a talent pool backed up to handle that? So again, it really varies on the company. What do you want to tackle first? I mean, is your company big? Do you have a lot of positions for entry-level individuals out of university? Do you want to really build a talent pipeline for that? Do you need to really fill your pipeline for technical hires, ahead of what might be a very busy Q3 or Q4? Again, you could have a huge initiative for veterans and diversity. A lot of large corporations are really moving towards having entire divisions of managers of recruiting just devoted to veterans and diversity. Where are your talent pipelines for that? Are they brand new because you're just starting out, or do you already have an existing talent pipeline there? Again, internal employee referrals. Employee referrals are the #1 way to find quality hires that are going to stay longer. So again, are you building talent pipelines of those referrals? If somebody refers a great candidate and they're not the right fit for a certain role, do you have a good, do they have a good experience going through your process? Are they kept warm? Are you going to reach out to them once a month to let them know of new roles? Do you offer an opportunity for them to sign in for job alerts so they can be updated whenever a different role in the company opens up? Again, tough niche positions. We have a lot of our customers that deal with executive recruiting, and again, they're looking for a very small funnel of candidates. It's a very, as you go higher in the ladder, it's much more of a challenge to handle, a very small talent pool. So how are you building that talent pool? How are you starting conversations with other executives? How are you, are you doing networking events? What are you doing to increase that? Again, you want to make sure you understand your goals for your particular company, and then really build your plan of attack and show those results of success for that group. It's easy to start with one group, have success, then roll it out to another, but make sure you have a clearly defined path for what you want to do to build your talent pipelines. So where do we start? Okay, probably after all, the first 15 minutes, we've covered a lot of information. Some of you are like, we're doing this right now. Great, everything Andre says, I'm checking a box. Some of you are looking around the room saying, oh my God, we're not doing any of this. What are we going to do to combat this? So don't worry about it. We've got an easy button. We're going to walk through some basic tips to help you out going forward. So again, check in with your employment brand. Remember, you've got a lot of internal allies at your company. So again, if we're seeing a huge trend in companies where now somebody employing branding actually sits in recruiting. But if that's not the case, it's very easy for you to reach out to somebody in your marketing team to have a conversation and talk about what your presence is. Get an idea of how are things going. Do you guys have a great presence on Facebook? Do you pay for a LinkedIn page? Are you doing things on Instagram or Pinterest? Have an idea what's already out there before you roll it out to recruiting. It'll give you a great starting point. And again, you'll find most people, internally are wanting to help out because they're going to, ultimately want to help the company out. And you want to make sure you're where the candidates are. I mean, maybe for instance, you guys are really big on MySpace, but that was, 15 years ago, and nobody's really looking there anymore. So again, you want to make sure you're sharing roles where, the candidates are. You want to make sure you're putting your employment brand and, attracting passive candidates where they're going to be looking passively, and they can say, oh, okay, this looks great. I'm going to click on this link here on Facebook and find out more information. And again, every company is different. We all have friends that have worked for companies that they do not love. Everybody has the friends that come in every time, and it's on a Sunday. They're regretting going to work on a Monday. They're complaining about their company. Again, you want to make sure you play to your strengths. Not every company is going to be a Google. But again, every company that you guys work for, you chose to join that company. So there are aspects that you like about it. So, make it an honest portrait. If it works long hours, if it works long hours, but it has a great compensation program, or they do a really good model to do internal development or whatnot, highlight that. Highlight your strengths, play to your strengths, and really give that honest portrait. Because if you try and present your company something that it isn't, candidates are going to go on other sites like Glassdoor or look online and find out it's not true. It's going to hurt your brand even more. So again, we want you to portray a very honest portrait of the company, and again, play to your strengths. And your employees are going to want an outlet to share. I mean, a lot of times they're saying, hey, we would love to share why we love working here. Just let us know what to do. I mean, you'll see here that 41% of us believe that employees are the best, most trusted source of company knowledge. Again, close to 70% trust reviews more when they see good and bad reviews. Now, I can tell you, after leading a global sourcing team, we would literally have lists set up on Twitter where we would follow on social media our top candidates from competitors. So we knew if there was a shakeup or bad things happened, we could see their social media chatter and then engage them in conversations. So again, it works both ways. But again, your employees are your best brand ambassadors. Let them know, how they can share things, whether you've got a program through like a Jobvite Refer where everybody has a publisher set up where your entire company can share fun anecdotes or with job roles throughout the day automatically across key social media channels like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Whatever it is, make sure that you're giving them the outlet to share. So when you begin to start filling your talent pool, you want to start smaller and to get your employees to help out. So you can figure out who are your evangelists, who are people that really love the company, or maybe they're very active on social media. Utilize those evangelists to promote your key job openings, and again, incentivize them. Some companies have referral programs or social media programs that pay a very nice reward for any hires, but other companies don't have that in their budget. It can easily be a fun contest where everyone that is doing fun things across social media and helping to build the talent pipelines. Again, they could be entered into a contest to sit down and have lunch with the CEO of the company or the CTO or another executive, or they could have a work from home day. You can do a lot of fun things to incentivize them, but you definitely want to sync up with the internal advocates to really work together on what's going to work for your group. So again, this is one of my favorite, this is actually, full disclosure, a Jobvite customer I've had the chance to work very closely with. I really enjoy working with them. As you can see, they enable their entire company as part of their onboarding from day one. They've created a web landing page through Jobvite. This is utilizing Jobvite Engage, where literally on day one they have a web page they can bookmark, and in 90 seconds they can set up their publisher to start sharing jobs across social media with fun sayings. They can also send out tactical one-time Jobvites throughout the week or whenever they want. And again, they'll have links to be recognized. They'll have links where they can check in and see where they're doing against the people in their department. They do a wonderful job really doing this. And as you can see, they have a lot of fun too. They've got a very fun culture. This is an internal web campaign they have with their existing employees, just to let them know when the gym classes are, when they can do yoga or kickboxing or any of the fun classes that they offer. But again, they are very big on doing this externally as well, where they share the fun, they share the good parts of working for their company, they share it externally, and they really put a message out that there's things that they don't have that other companies do, and they're not trying to be false. They really stay true to their culture, and they get that message out. And it's led to some really big things for them. I love this photo. They recently won the overall award for the first ever Asia Recruiting Awards. They also cleaned house, winning several medals as well for gold and silver in all of the key categories, including employer branding and sourcing candidates. So again, this is a group of their team celebrating, having a good time. But again, hard work and showing a good culture, it leads to some very big successes. And again, they were just recognized in the APAC region for, as the overall best recruiting program for doing all of these different things. So again, this is a slide that I love. I mean, you see how close the person is for the number 2 candidate to the number 1 with the jockeys and the horses up top. We'll always say, never forget your silver medalist. From spending a decade in talent acquisition, it's a reactionary business. You work very hard to fill roles. As soon as they're filled, you've got more recs to fill. You pivot and go to a different direction, and that's understandable. But think about how easy it would be is when you're going to fill these other roles, you could go back and have everybody that had interviewed over the last 3 months or 6 months that had been a number 2 that you really liked, that had been organized and tagged in your CRM, that you could instantly send an email campaign to see if they're still interested in. Or better yet, you've been reaching out to these silver medalists once a month, and you're keeping them warm with updates on your company, saying, hey, sorry you didn't work out. We really liked you. We think there's going to be a spot for you with ABC Company. Just make sure that you keep in touch. We want to say we haven't forgotten about you. So again, if you think about that, if your recruiting process, if your workflow is say 5 or 6 steps from a candidate seeing a job rec, applying, being reviewed by a sourcer or recruiter, having an initial phone screen, going to a hiring manager for review, then talking to the hiring manager on the phone, then coming in. I mean, you're looking at all of these steps. Imagine what you could do if you worked with your silver medalist and moved everybody 5 steps ahead of everybody else in the line. Again, we'll show you tangible results of how you would increase your time to fill and, again, increase the value for your company. And I love this quote from Steve at Amway. Steve and I have worked together for the last 8 months since I joined Jobvite. He leads a lot of really great initiatives with the Amway team where, again, they recruit on very tough-to-fill positions, but they do a fantastic job of keeping in touch via organized tags of their silver medalist candidates. So, I mean, as you can see, as he says here, we can stay in touch with great candidates who finish second to another candidate. We have the ability to add them to our pipeline and stay in touch with these silver medalists. Again, it's a great way to think smarter about how to use technology to really shave time off of your day-to-day process. And again, to work with the best candidates. These guys have already been vetted to make it all the way through your process. Just because they did not get an offer doesn't mean they're not going to be a good fit for your company down the road. So again, I would highly, our best companies are using email and web campaigns. And as you guys are seeing, I'm sure, everyone's used to seeing kind of the same typical email campaigns when you're recruited. They're very static. They're black and white. They're saying, hey, Joe, you're a good fit for this role. Please apply. Again, that's changed. Candidates want to be entertained. They want to choose their own journey to your company. So again, you owe it to yourself to adapt with the times to do interactive visual email campaigns, with hyperlinks, with imagery, with a chance to build their own journey. Again, when you look at, the entire workforce of millennials, again, you're going to see an entire group that says, hey, we want to choose our own journey. And you know what? For one candidate, they might want to click on a link and go to your Pinterest board or your YouTube channel. Another candidate might want to click a hyperlink and watch your CEO give an interview on MSNBC. The whole thing is you give options to this group by these interactive visual campaigns. And again, they're going to be drawn to you and want to find out more and then go to next steps. And again, we've got a great customer of ours in Schneider Electric. They lead the way in a lot of categories. They have over 700 different email and web campaigns they've created. And again, as you can see, they have web campaigns that draw in specific talent directly for certain roles and for certain divisions. So again, when these candidates come in, they can opt in with their LinkedIn profile, their Facebook profile, or simply put in first name, last name, and email address, choose a category of jobs they want, and they will automatically be sent updates for key roles. And again, they're going to go into the CRM, Jobvite Engage, and again, be tied to an email campaign that's very specific that they can be reached out to with information about information in that division, whether it's a huge announcement about a growth or a huge hiring push or whatever else. In a matter of seconds, they can email a group of 5,000 people, and all 5,000 are getting a different individualized message saying, Dear Sarah, Dear Joe, Dear Claire, Dear Andre. And again, it's going to be an interactive message saying next steps to entice them to go from being a passive candidate that had maybe never heard of this company to now being, wow, the more I learn about them, this is a place, my dream company. I can't wait to work for them. So by the time it gets to the interview stage, these candidates have done so much research and they are so fired up, they can't wait to really work for the company, which makes a better experience for the recruiters as well too. So it's important to segment your talent pool as well. Again, you want to make sure that a director of engineering isn't getting the same message you would send to a marketing coordinator. Again, if you're a military veteran entering the private sector, they might want a different message than someone that's a recent college graduate. Again, you want to make sure you're being as specific as you can for different things. Again, it's great to have one message, but as you guys know, one message doesn't fit everybody. You're not going to talk to a VP of technology the same way you would talk to an intern. Hopefully you would treat both of them with the time and be very friendly to them. But again, you want to make sure that you've got the ability in your talent pools to really have kind of just the different tiers of messaging. And again, you could have messaging based on business unit. We've seen customers do it based on level, et cetera. But make sure that you're doing things correctly and you're having some variety as well too. So again, this is a great example of a university recruiting campaign. This is going to be a very specific campaign that for an on-site event. This is one of the web campaigns created through Jobvite, where again, you have the chance that if you're a candidate, this can also be emailed as a link as well, or it can be shared on social media. It could be shared with the USC alumni group on LinkedIn, where they in turn could share that. If any individual could share with their members, et cetera, with their contacts. But again, if I don't know anything about this company, I can click on their blog, their LinkedIn page, their Twitter, their Facebook, their TV channel. I can literally do whatever journey I want to learn more about the company, or simply sign up for job alerts. So again, as you can see, this is very specific. It's looking for USC students that are also interested in working in China. So again, it's very specific to what they want. And again, these people these prospective employees, future employees, are all going to be tied to a email campaign that's very specific to exactly what they want. They're not going to get an email campaign that says, hey, great jobs in Detroit. They're going to follow up with being very tiered towards roles in China. Now, there might be a hyperlink in there to go on to the more general information if they want to look for jobs throughout the United States, but again, being very specific. And again, I love this campaign. Farmers Insurance does an amazing job. So the dog tags are actually a snapshot of a video that auto plays when you start. So they do a great job. This is just a snapshot of their web campaign. They literally have a video that shows a different member, a working employee of their company at every level, from individual contributor to manager to branch owner to executive, that is all a former member of the military, talking about why it's important to hire veterans. They did this initiative through Jobvite earlier this year, and it's been running for the entire year. They're having huge success with it. So again, if I'm a veteran, I'm drawn to that by the picture. The video is very powerful. It simply comes from their YouTube page. If I want next steps as a veteran, I simply have to put in my first name, last name, email address, pick the jobs I'm interested in, and then I'll automatically be tied to that. Plus, I'll go into the pipeline where the recruiters can reach out to me directly for next conversation. So again, a great way to show what a very targeted messaging can be and what it will do to lead to filling up your talent pool very quickly. And again, it's important to get organized. When you have a CRM, you think of your CRM as your talent pool, again, your bench. It's everybody you'd want to hire. Whereas your ATS, if you have 100 applicants, being a recruiter is that maybe 10 of those are going to be all right fits, but more than likely 90 are not going to be a match. So again, the beauty of having a CRM and having a talent pool is you're only putting in quality. So again, when you search it, you're getting the best people in each category. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I made early on as a manager of a global sourcing team is, we didn't put our tagging structure with our CRM to organize our talent in until about a year into it. So what does that mean in a real life example? For us, it was very important to hire enterprise account executives. Those were individuals that were leaders in software as a service sales. They were making anywhere from $300,000 each year and above. They were the best of the best, and we titled them account executives. The problem was, if I label someone as an account executive, somebody else on the team as a senior sales recruiter might come in and label them as account exec. Somebody else might label them as an AE. So we went to search our talent pool. We'd have to search by 3 different things to find these key people. So again, having a unified approach where you have key organization is going to help in the long run, when you can literally, in the matter of seconds, do a search by talent pools and find out everyone that fits a certain category by how your team is doing things. So some very easy suggestions are to organize your talent pool by functional areas, whether that's business units or categories or divisions, however you have it set up with your company. Really doing a lot with your competitors. More and more often, our customers are trying to go after very key competitors as they grow. Again, geography. Do you want to send out an email campaign, for all sales professionals from XYZ company on the West Coast? Well, very simply, in a matter of seconds, you could organize your CRM from 60,000 candidates to maybe 200, add them to a specific email campaign that literally talks about all the sales growth due to a new acquisition or a new VP of sales on the West Coast, whatever it is. And again, organize them by the source of where they came in. When I was leading a talent acquisition team, this was great because I would sit down with our executive group and my VP, and they would say, okay, we're spending X amount of dollars. We have a $500,000 recruiting spend for technology. We're paying for this service. We're paying X amount of dollars. How many people have come in from that? How many people have we hired? And again, by doing all of this through our CRM, which for us was Jobvite, we could say, wow, to be honest, we have really seen a drop in hires and talent from this service. And they'd say, okay, well, it comes up for renewal. Let's eliminate them, and instead of paying $45,000, we'll use that money to hire a sourcer or a recruiting coordinator. So it's very important to know, where your talent's coming in, and for things that you've been paying for a while, to really make sure that it's still worth it for you, and if those dollars can be reallocated to other parts of your program or even additional hires. So again, you want to make sure that you're using social media to get the word out. Again, using we've got the hashtag up here, which is always fun to say, hashtag recruit. But you want to make sure you build out campaigns that your candidates will be interested in. It's very easy to tie to existing trends. We launched as a customer last year, we launched a major campaign around the World Cup that did very well. We started by just adding the hashtag World Cup to all the jobs that we shared via Jobvite Publisher, and we started to see people in other countries retweeting our jobs out to their 10,000 followers. We had a lot of fun with it for the month of the World Cup. We did a lot of different things. We saw it go viral. We had blogs written about what we did. We were asked to do speaking engagements. But again, any company, whether you're a 500-person company or a global leader in your area, social media is the great amplifier. If you tie it to existing trends, you can really amplify that message out. If you simply share your jobs that are available, on a Sunday during football season with the hashtag NFL or a big game that's going, you have the chance to be viewed by millions of viewers that are watching the game, but also keying into Twitter. There are great sites like simpler.com where you can discover what trends and popular hashtags for your industry. So there's so much that you can do to make it very easy. But again, especially going after the next generation of workforce, you want to make sure your timing is into social media. And again, you'll need to see a lot of sports themes with me. I definitely enjoy sports, but this is a very neat customer that we work with, Tenable Network Security, great growing company, just shy of around 400 employees. They've doubled in size in the last year. They've done amazing things with their recruiting team. But if you look at the handle for March Madness, it had 38,000 followers last year. It jumped to 170,000 followers this year. So again, they worked with Jobvite. We launched a very fun campaign, a web campaign around hiring sales rock stars. But we launched it strategically during tip-off of this Thursday of March Madness. So again, it went viral. We had a lot of fun with it. Again, keep in mind they're a 400-person company. And next slide. Or was it? Sorry, one thing. Sorry. One thing looking at the slide. One thing I wanted to share is being a 400-person company, they literally had 800 people view their campaign in the first 24 hours. So more than twice the number of employees in the company were candidates that were viewing their campaign, and better than that, they started to have candidates coming into their pipeline. So literally, candidates were signing up for job alerts that had a network security sales background, and again, it let their recruiters instantly start having conversations and build it out to make hires out of that. So again, a great way you can tie a web campaign that you have to a fun social media event and really amplify it out towards a much larger crowd. And again, you guys are seeing, for you guys that are doing this, again, you're like, okay, we're doing some of these things. How can we increase our results? Where's our ROI? We really want to jump into some real-world examples and really show if you're not doing this or if you're not doing it to this level, why it's worth your time. This is a large customer of ours, and again, by doing more of the sourcing and talent pools, this major beverage company saw 20% time saved in what they were doing for their day-to-day. It's led to their third highest source of hires, and again, they had 40% more hires in one quarter than the quarter before. So again, it's something where once you enact this, you can have very strong results, literally quarter by quarter with this. I really love this. So I started, this is a great customer of ours, Schneider Electric. This is showing just their North American division. But as you can see, they were doing things on social media, but very lightly as a recruiting group. They weren't doing much for the first 6 months. We were able to sit with them, and I led a kind of a social media boost session with the entire company. We started to really share all the things that I've shared with you today, sharing best practices, sharing ways to have creative messaging across social media, and it really drove home the idea of adoption. So again, we had the buy-in from the team. They started to say, okay, we're going to try this out and see our results. So as you can see, this is just over a few months, but as they started to greatly increase what they were sharing across, this is just LinkedIn with their messaging, they saw as a company, and this is a 200,000 person company, they saw the greatest quantity of increase in new LinkedIn followers they'd ever seen in 1 month. And again, these numbers just kept on growing. So individuals that might not know they were a market leader were now saying, you know what, I'm going to follow this company. I want to find out more about this company. Whereas before, they were not doing that. They weren't interested. So again, this is a great slide to capture the power of social media. And again, just taking up a slight load from what you're already doing will lead to hugely quantifiable results. Again, we've seen statistics as well where, you're going to reduce your time to hire. I love this slide. So individuals that were brought in through talent pools and direct sourcing, through utilizing, the product, if you look at the time to fill, it's almost 3 weeks faster than if somebody is coming off the career website, and it's almost twice as fast as someone that comes in from an agency. So again, you're looking to, speed up your time to fill. And if you look across your entire recruiting team, what would you do if your recruiters were filling jobs 3 times as fast? I mean, again, these are great problems to have. And again, it's all about being smarter and going back to those talent pools of your silver medalists, your number 2s, having those guys ready to go. And again, full disclosure, I hated Twitter. I was not a Twitter person, and I'm sorry saying that because I love Twitter now, and Twitter is actually a Jobvite customer. But I didn't have a Twitter account. I came in to build out the global sourcing team for the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and I did a lot on LinkedIn. I did some things on Facebook, but I did not have a Twitter account. And I thought, who am I? I'm not that interesting. Why should I have an account? My VP sat me down and very politely said on day 3, like, you are going to lead this group. You need to have an active social media account, and we do a lot through Twitter with our employer branding. So this was 3 years ago. So again, this shows you how progressive the Salesforce Marketing Cloud was to be so entrenched in doing this as a part of recruiting and employee branding, 3 years ago. So again, this is full disclosure. This is me starting out with 0 followers, and literally, I now have close to 1,300 followers. And to be honest, 90% of what I share are just automated tweets from my Jobvite publisher as a customer and as an employee of Jobvite. So I always say, hey, if I can do this, anybody can go from 0 to 1,000 in 3 years. So again, and think about that now. Think about now that I have 1,200 followers, when I'm sharing jobs, they're being retweeted, they're being favored, they're being shared to different areas. So again, I have a chance to make, impressions of, 1.2 thousand a day, but there are days where, I do something, where it really takes off. And again, I'm having 5 to 6 to 7 to 10,000 impressions across a large scope. So again, imagine this being rolled out scalably across your entire recruiting team, what that would do for your group. All right, so next steps. Now we're going to decide what we're doing next. So again, love this slide. Definitely don't want to put the cart before the horse. Don't try and do I recommend not doing a complete overhaul of what you're already doing. Again, don't try and solve all your sourcing issues in one go. Make sure you're going to pick, what area of what you've learned today and really attack that aggressively. Nurturing passive candidates might take time, but once you have that talent pipeline and talent pool built up, again, you're going to be speeding up your time to fill and your hires in the long run. So it's worth it to invest now to have the success in a Q3, a Q4, rolling into Q1 of next year. And again, sourcing is like going to the gym. You can go once a day and not have very many results, or you could spend a lot of time in the gym and work at it. So again, this is something that you guys can't just, if you're going to get out of it what you put into it. Again, we all join those gyms and say, man, we're going to go, it's a great gym. But again, if we go once a week versus 5 times a week, the results are dramatically different. It's the same as what you do with adapting new strategies across your team. So again, plan out your roadmap. Make sure you keep to the schedule. Identify what you want to achieve. What's your goal? Do you want a percentage of source candidates to come from your active pipelines? Do you want to create that? Or is your main goal to decrease your cost of hire by lowering job board spends? Understand what are your metrics. I had clear-cut metrics that I would do every month, every quarter, every yearly review, but I also could have those metrics ready to go and reported on for all of our sourcing within a 15-minute notice for an executive meeting. So make sure that when you're trying to understand what metrics are going to work out best for you, brainstorm the ideas. Get an idea from talking to your team. What are cool events that would would draw candidates to your company? Maybe you do a big philanthropy event where you do cleaning for for Chicago. I know there's a lot of our companies will do big philanthropic events once a year in the summer. Well, make sure you highlight that you're a company that takes time to give back and do fun things, and target your messaging around that. Again, benchmark when you're going to review your progress. So again, it's very important to make sure you guys plan this out and keep to your schedule. And again, pick 3 or 4 segments that you really want to target for your talent pool. Maybe for you, it's going to be, you want to be very active this season for university recruiting fairs. Maybe for your group, it's very important to go after sales hires and technology hires. Maybe you want to really make a big push to have better mid-level candidates that can eventually move into management positions. Whatever it is, make sure you segment what's exactly right for your company. What are the most important things, hopefully, you know that are not only, you need to have ready to go now, but 6 months down the road, 12 months, 18 months, to really have those pipelines and pools ready to go for your future hires over what initiatives are coming down the pipe from your executive team. So that is, we've run through a lot of information in the first 40 minutes, so we're very excited to answer any questions. Hopefully, you guys, I love it. I love to see somebody else initially hated Twitter, but it looks like that, they were able to work at it and have some good results out of that.
Thank you so much, Andre. And yes, so if you guys have any questions for Andre, please use that question box. Now is the time. Type them in and we will get to as many as we can. It looks like we've got a fair bit of time, so don't be shy. And yeah, Nancy submitted more of a comment about hating Twitter. She hated Twitter as well, moved too fast for me, but now I receive more contacts in Twitter than any other format. It's a lifestyle, just like the gym.
And that's a really good point as well. I mean, it's very important, a lot of times just sharing things on Twitter, isn't enough. I always tell people, like, oh, I'm sharing jobs on Twitter now. It's great. I'm getting likes and all that. And I'll say, oh, great. So who's liking your jobs? And they'll say, oh, I don't know. Well, if you're posting a job for a software developer and 3 software developers are liking, that's a good indicator you might want to reach out to that person or start a conversation, maybe direct message them on Twitter to have a conversation, or seek them out on LinkedIn or another avenue and see if they're going to be a good fit. Because again, a lot of times, liking them on Twitter is a little safer than, going out and saying that they want to work for your company in a public domain. So you'll find candidates wanting to interact. Them liking a job posting you have is a great indicator of them possibly wanting to have a next step in a conversation.
Definitely. Andre, you've talked a little bit about how your boss at ExactTarget or Salesforce Marketing Cloud sat you down and got you involved in Twitter. What about for your team? Do you have any tips on getting people who work for you who need to get out on social and get them more engaged when they're probably less excited about Twitter than they should be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we talked about that in our interview process. We definitely let everybody know that as a company we were very social. We were very, we wanted to always be the leaders in our space from a recruiting standpoint. And one thing that helped as a leader is I had a meeting every Monday with the global recruiting team. So it was everybody from the recruiters to sourcers to recruiting coordinators, and we literally would spend a good 5 minutes sharing some examples of what what other recruiters and sources on our team were sharing across social media. So for someone that's maybe isn't the most creative, they might say, oh, well, my coworker's got a great thing, I'm just going to copy theirs. So we would highlight the ones that were doing good things, and then also be able to share the metrics saying, hey, Sarah's shared so many jobs and she's actually leading the division in hires. There's a direct correlation behind that. One of my coworkers, Mei Lee, was an amazing person on social media, and she shared up to 20 jobs a day on both LinkedIn and Twitter, and we thought that was crazy. But consistently every quarter she had more hires than anybody else. So again, it's whatever method's comfortable to you. I was more of a 3 to 4 jobs a day as far as sharing, but again, try whatever you want and see what happens from it.
Great. Carlos had a question more focused on increasing the number of followers for his company's account.
Sure. There's a lot of things that you can do. I mean, again, we've seen, we showed the example of Tenable. They were a 400-person company with 800 people viewing their web campaign in just 24 hours of launching with March Madness. Well, they've also seen huge increases in people that are coming to view their LinkedIn careers page because they are very active around social media. So I would say all the things that we covered today, if you want to increase your social media followers, share things during events, tie them in on, again, I'm going to use Twitter again, on key events. That the first game for the NFL season is going to be viewed by 10 million people. Well, great. Make sure that you're sharing something cool about your company with those hashtags about the game. So again, if 50,000 people see that and then opt in or start to follow you, again, it's a great way for you to build that brand out. Again, sharing things across LinkedIn as well, sharing things on Facebook. Again, reaching the candidates where the candidates are is going to be the most important thing, and empowering your company to do that is going to help out.
Perfect. And continue to submit your questions. I know we're getting a lot of questions about people increasing their own followers and their company's followers. And we did have a couple of questions as well on whether we will be sending out the presentation afterward. And yes, we will. We'll get that deck within the next 24 hours or so. So just don't worry, you don't need to take copious notes. You'll get all of that in the future. So let's see. Let me take a look at the questions.
So
Kimberly had a question about, she is a new adopter of Twitter. Do you have any tips on how to get those followers, or how to target the type of followers that you want?
No, that's a great question. So it can be a little daunting at the beginning. And actually, I've got a coworker that joined Jobvite 4 months ago, and she did not have a Twitter account. And I led an intercompany presentation on social media, and she said, okay, I'm going to try it. So again, she signed up for Twitter. I was her first follower. So again, encourage people that you know that are already on Twitter saying, hey, I'm signing up for a Twitter account. You can simply tweet at them. So if you want to tweet at Andre J. Boulay, I'll follow you. But again, people that you already know that are on Twitter, let them know you're signing up for an account. And a lot of times they'll start to, and just encourage them to follow you. And then from there, when you're on Twitter, if you find lists, like say if you're recruiting for sales professionals and you find a list of sales professionals, again, those are people to start to follow. And most people, if you follow them, will follow you back. Starting out brand new is great because again, you can follow quite a number of people, and a lot of times they're going to start to follow you back and build that. And then once you start to build your presence, you can always go back and unfollow them. Or if it's somebody that, if you don't want to follow people that are going to share content that's not relevant, you can also, when you follow somebody, just mute them. So then whatever they post is not going to appear in your feed. So that's a great way to, again, build up your followers pretty quickly. And then like we were saying, share things across, key events on social media. You can simply Google, what are the top 10, what are the top 10 events on social media, last year or this year, so far this year, to get an idea of, what are the things, what are the things that are coming up that are going to be very talked about or used, anything we've shared earlier today. But again, start building that presence out and having those conversations, and you'll have a lot of fun with it. So it's always fun when somebody in Australia retweets one of your jobs just because they like what you've shared. So you can have a lot of fun with it.
Great. So one thing I always find interesting is the idea of silver medalists. And I know that Amway, we saw that quote from them about how they've been engaging their silver medalists specifically. Do you have any anecdotes or stories on that can kind of get people revved up to engage them?
Yeah, I think it's something that we utilize as a customer, and then a lot of our leading customers do this, and it goes beyond the silver medalist. If you think about it, silver medalist will be anybody that comes in to interview and doesn't quite get the job. But if you think about it so one step further, it's important to build your talent pipelines with individuals that are the one that got away. So for instance, if you have say somebody turns you down, say, you put an offer out to somebody, you liked them enough to make the offer, they went somewhere else, a lot of times it just stops there in recruiting. The best customers that I work with, that are the most progressive, they keep the conversation going. Now, they're not going to reach out, in a couple of weeks when they start their new job, but they're going to target a 90-day, a 3-month review or a 3-month or 6-month email to go out and say, hey, Sarah, hopefully they're going well at ABC Company. We still talk about you back here. You were such a great fit for us. Just want to say we wish you well, and if you know anybody just like you, or if you could clone yourself, let us know because we would hire you again in a second. Now, you usually get 2 reactions. One, they're going to say, hey, thanks for reaching out. I really enjoyed interviewing with you guys. I'm very happy with my new role, but I appreciate you reaching out. Hey, you might want to talk to so-and-so from my former company. Here's a possible lead for you. Or they might say, you know what, it was a very tough decision to come to the company, to make the choice. 3 months in, the job's not what it was presented. I'm really having some questions. Let's start a conversation again. Well, think about that. You've already made an offer to this person. They've already gone all the way through to get an offer approved. If a role is still available, if it's still a good match, they're automatically jumping to the front of the line. So you're having a chance to fill a role, in a matter of days versus a matter of, weeks or months. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the last thing I would say is people are going to leave companies. Things happen. We had somebody recently that left Jobvite to go to another opportunity, and we kept reaching out. Obviously, we're very friends and close to this person. She's come back to join the company, and she's very happy to be back. And again, you never know if the person that leaves your company for another opportunity, if it's going to be the right fit. So again, if you proactively reach out to them, where you're reaching out to maybe 25 or even 500 people every quarter that have left your company, and if even 10% of them come back, well, what a great thing is you've saved time to hire, because you're hiring back these quality employees that left your company.
Perfect. Nicholas had a question. Are these personal accounts that recruiters are using to post jobs, including their personal tweets, or do you suggest dedicating an account specifically to recruiting?
That's a great question. I see it both ways. So I would highly encourage, the line between personal and professional life with social media is very blurred. Personally, I don't have the energy to have 2 accounts for LinkedIn, Facebook, for Twitter. So the majority of the people that I work with for our customers globally tend to use their personal accounts for doing that. Some of them will have a separate account for certain social media, but in general, you're just sharing why you love working for your company. You're sharing the passion and being happy. So again, I would encourage starting out, just share it through your personal account. It's also, if you don't have it set up, it's a great idea to have a personalized account. We had one that was just the Twitter handle ET Jobs, where we would share key jobs through that. But we would also share articles. We had an entire social media calendar where every day we were sharing a different type of content, and we had a huge response from that, a huge number of followers. And how great is that if we had 5,000 followers, that's potentially 5,000 candidates that are following all the jobs and updates about our company. Well, that's a great place to start a talent pool and start sourcing from as well. We made a lot of hires out of that as well.
Perfect. So it looks like we're coming up at the end of our questions. So if you do have any questions, please submit them now. You'll get the first choice up here. And I don't know, Andre, do you have any more stories that you'd like to share, or should we?
I could tell stories for days. I would love to hear any other questions. I'm hoping just if you guys could comment. I mean, hopefully, you were able to get something out of this. Is there any area where you'd like a little more information on, say, that we didn't quite cover? Let us know. I'm happy to ad-lib that for the last 5 or so minutes. I know we've covered a lot of information, and your mind's probably like, okay, I've got to go back and tell my boss we need to do this, 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 and this. But yeah, we love the feedback. We love the questions coming. Every company is different. I have the distinct privilege working at Jobvite to work for a very innovative company, but also work with leaders across all areas. I get to hear day to day what the best practices are. It was very nice, to be honest, to see Group M win all of those awards. I knew they were a great recruiting program from working with them, but to see them recognized out of all the companies in Asia for the Asia Recruiting Awards, it was extremely validating to kind of see that. So again, what works for them might not work for you, but you might have a different style or approach that works well. So again, don't be intimidated by what other people do. Find your own voice and your own rhythm, and really attack at what's going to be the best voice for your company. And you're going to bring great people to come want to work for you and build those talent pipelines and speed up your time to fill.
Great. So Courtney asked, what is your Twitter handle again?
It is @AndreJBoulet.
I'll include that in the follow-up email so you guys have it spelled out and ready to follow. But speaking about kind of getting started on talent pools, do you have any suggestions on getting executive buy-in and kind of the key points that you might want to share with them that'll get them really engaged in investing?
Sure. I think, sharing some key numbers, again, the statistic that 70% of candidates are willing to have a conversation. And if you simply say, what would happen to our company if we lost 70% of our workforce? What would happen if it was 20% or 30%? Again, it's so important to have talent pools ready to go because, again, you never know what's going to happen. One of your competitors could instantly go after a large portion. We had our competitors, we had our top 5 competitors, and for years, the number 1 leading digital marketing SaaS company was a company called Responses, and they were always the number 1. And we kept growing as a company. We, as ExactTarget, we were the number 3, and the number 2, and then we leapfrogged them with the number 1, shortly before being acquired by Salesforce and becoming the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. But we paid very close attention when Oracle acquired Responses around Christmas a couple of years ago. So instantly, our executive team got with me, and we did a 3-month aggressive social media and sourcing strategy to go after the top people. And literally, before Oracle could even complete their integration, we had absorbed a large number of highly qualified professionals of the best key leaders at every position across these different areas. And again, that's because we were aggressively sharing things on social media and doing things the right way and drawing that talent to us. So again, think about what would happen if you lost a huge chunk of your company to a competitor. Would you, how long would it take to hire everybody? And then you're looking at all the stress of your recruiters working double hours, which then if you lose recruiters, you're put back in an even bigger hole. So again, seeing what could happen with losing a portion of your workforce is probably the greatest way to drive the ROI and why it's important to have your talent pipelines. Now, do I expect everyone to be like how the Salesforce Marketing Cloud was, to have talent pipelines set up for what a hiring plan was 5 years out? No, that's not going to be it's not going to be expected for everybody. But again, you should have a contingency for what would happen across the next 3 to 6 months if you lost people in each key segment, and have this great pool of people ready to go for you.
Perfect. And I can say, as someone in marketing, that's kind of our focus, is building that pipeline and maintaining that plan for 3, 6, 12 months out for our sales team, and understanding our goals there. And it's just a really big priority. So it's great that sourcing is kind of getting its moment in the spotlight to really shine in recruiting. With that, though, we've got 5 minutes until the end of the webinar and no more questions. So I will give you those 5 minutes to spend starting and creating your lists and priorities to start your sourcing and talent pools. And thank you very much to Andre for taking the time today, and thank you all for joining us. Once again, the presentation will be sent out to you after the end of the day. And thanks. Bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. Had a lot of fun. Really appreciate the questions. Excited to see what you guys do and start following you guys on social media.
Perfect. Thanks.